don't get it twisted, folks. Disney is not going bankrupt, and Disney World is not closing its gates forever. But right now, Disney is on a dangerous path. If they do not make serious changes within the next few years, they could find themselves in a completely unrecoverable position, with Universal breathing down their neck and building a brand new theme park. If changes are not made, they might not be the top dog anymore. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware, Disney has sprouted a number of concerning issues just over the last few years, like Genie Plus, the reservation system being god-awful, and prices continuing to be pretty high. And although each of these have their own unique issues to address, most of these we can track back to the main problem Disney World is facing, which is overcrowding. Now, I've preached about this plenty of times in the past, but let me put it into perspective for you. Here before you is the yearly attendance for each of the 4 Disney World parks as of 2019. What you'll notice is Magic Kingdom has almost double the annual attendance of any of the other 3 Disney World parks. So looking at that, you might think, oh well, surely Magic Kingdom's gonna be the only one that's overcrowded, and if all of them are overcrowded, well, Magic Kingdom's gotta be the most overcrowded because it has by far the most guests visiting it every year. Well, I'm sorry, my friends, but you would be dead wrong on that, because take a look at the number of rides at each park. The Magic Kingdom has a metric boatload of rides when compared to the other 3 in the chain, meaning they have the capacity to handle a large amount of guests. But I'll let you in on a little secret, folks. Animal Kingdom, with their 7 rides, does not have nearly enough capacity to handle the amount of guests entering that park on a daily basis. And the same goes for Epcot and Hollywood Studios. Not only that, folks, but let's come back to that attendance number. Why does the Magic Kingdom have so much more people visiting it on an annual basis compared to these other 3 parks? Well, it's certainly the most iconic park. It has the majority of the classic Disney attractions, and it's usually the front and center piece of all Disney World marketing. And yeah, all those are pretty big contributing factors, but I'm gonna come back to this number right here. All these parks cost the same amount to get into. When people are planning their trips to Disney World and they're deciding which parks they want to go to, on paper, Magic Kingdom looks like you're getting the best bang for your buck because it's by far the most things to do. So of course it has the most attendance because the vast majority of people who are coming to Disney World are booking Magic Kingdom in their trip. As a result of this, the Magic Kingdom, despite having all these attractions and all this capacity, still finds itself with an overcrowding problem because they have way too many guests coming in, and the other parks are not picking up enough of the load. But here's the real kicker, folks. The overcrowding problem at Magic Kingdom is bad, but it is horrific at the other 3 parks. Despite having much lower attendance than the Magic Kingdom, these parks cannot handle the amount of guests coming through the door every day. They just don't have enough rides. They don't have enough capacity to be able to accommodate all of them. Now, you might find this bizarre because these 3 parks have been seeing majority of the investment over the last 5 years or so. Animal Kingdom got a brand new land with Pandora after not getting literally anything since the park opened pretty much. Epcot got Ratatouille and Guardians of the Galaxy, and Hollywood Studios got 2 new lands with Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge. And yet, believe it or not, Hollywood Studios is the worst offender of the entire bunch. On Sunday, July 10th, 2022, a week after 4th of July weekend, a very busy time at theme parks across the United States, Hollywood Studios found itself with a 75-minute wait on average across all of the rides in the park. That is insane. That's including a flat ride and alien swing saucers. Like, what are you talking about? 75 minutes? But listen, folks, it gets worse. Because when you do out the math, for those 9 rides that Hollywood Studios has, in order to ride all of them with an average wait of 75 minutes, it would take you 11 hours and 15 minutes. Meaning, yeah, if you were to get there at open and stay until close and teleport from ride to ride and only wait in lines all day and not stop for any food or drinks or anything like that, then yeah, sure, you would be able to ride everything in that one given day. I don't know what's wrong with that. It seems pretty reasonable to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Now, I'm about to make an insane and unhinged comparison, but just hear me out here. On the same day, July 10th, 2022, I visited Dorney Park in the middle of the day peak time, the parking lot was pretty much full. And I walked in there, and I didn't wait longer than 10 minutes for any ride. I was there for only an hour and a half, and I rode 5 rides, no problem. Now, you might think maybe I'm cherry picking a little bit, but coming back to those 5 rides that I rode, those are the 5 most popular rides at Dorney. The 5 most popular rides at Hollywood Studios, the average wait time across all those was about 95 minutes on July 10th. It would have taken you almost 8 hours just to ride those 5 rides. I rode the 5 most popular rides at Dorney Park in an hour and a half. And even though Dorney's quality of ride is nowhere near as good of the quality attractions that Disney has at their parks, I walked away much happier after my trip to Dorney Park than I did the last time I went to Disney. Now, the reason why this is insane for me to bring up is because Dorney Park probably gets about 1.5 million guests on an annual basis, which of course is about 10 times less than what Hollywood Studios gets on an annual basis. So can you really sit here and say that Disney should be more like Dorney when their attendance is not even remotely close to one another? Yes I can. Why? Because Dorney understands that they need to build in capacity in order to give their guests the best experience so that they want to come back. They know they can't provide the best quality attraction possible, but they can certainly go out there and provide them with enough things to do to not only fill up their whole day, but to also prevent them from waiting in any stupidly long lines. I mean, believe it or not, Dorney Park has an unbelievable 45 attractions. That's insane. Now, majority of these are like flat rides or kid rides or whatever, but still, the fact you have 45 attractions, the capacity at Dorney Park is insane. And honestly, probably rivals the amount that Hollywood Studios has, despite the fact that Hollywood Studios expects 10 times the amount of guests. If that doesn't put into perspective of just how bad of a state these parks are in right now, when you're losing to Dorney in anything, I don't know what does. No offense, Dorney. So that brings me to the suggestion for Disney, the game plan, the strategy to get themselves out of this hole, out of this rut, to save the parks from potential demise and potential overtaking from the Universal parks. It's simple, folks. Be more like Dorney. I'm kidding. But also, I'm not really kidding. Dorney has the capacity for all the guests that come to their park and then some. Why can't Disney, with all the millions of dollars, the billions of dollars they're making every year, why can they not reinvest that into the parks and seriously get these parks up to standard, up to the capacity that is needed to handle the guests at the parks? I mean, it's gotten to an absurd degree. These parks are no longer enjoyable to visit because you're stuck waiting in line all day. And as a result of that, you don't get to ride as much stuff as you're hoping to do when you pay the exorbitant fees to get into the park. So to break it down for Disney and to spoon feed it to them, for a solution that realistically they should already know, do not expand Magic Kingdom. There's already enough stuff to do there. What you need to do is you need to work on these other 3 parks, build them up, expand them, give them more rides, give them more capacity, so that way not only are they closer to being on par with the Magic Kingdom, but they can handle the guests that are currently coming into the parks, and hopefully, if your plan is to continue to grow, handle even more guests as you increase your attendance. Also, in case I really need to spell it out, do not build a 5th theme park. That is just brain dead. Yes, it will give more capacity to the resort as a whole, and it's going to help the other parks in the chain with their capacity in the short term. But if you're investing all this money into a brand new theme park, your goal is obviously going to be to increase attendance over time, right? So if that does play out, eventually Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and Epcot are going to get to the annual attendance level that they are at right now, which means that their capacity still is not going to be able to handle the guests coming in. So it's just a temporary band-aid on what is an actual serious issue that if you address it, can help you for years to come. But what's funny is, Disney knows this is an issue. They see the wait time numbers that we're seeing. They know that Hollywood Studios is a disaster and that Animal Kingdom and Epcot also don't have the capacity to handle the guests coming in every day. And then as a result of this, Magic Kingdom's also getting overcrowded because guests want to go there instead of the other parks. But what have they done about it? They're building a new ride in Magic Kingdom. It's not replacing anything. It's going to add capacity to that park, but by building another ride in Magic Kingdom, you're just incentivizing more people to go to the Magic Kingdom, when really you want to be utilizing your other parks to take away crowds from the Magic Kingdom. The Magic Kingdom already has enough stuff to do. You don't need more stuff to do there. right? Ideally, you want the other parks to be built up and have to increase their capacity and become more enticing to guests, so that way Magic Kingdom can see less crowds, not more. On top of this, Disney decides, you know what, we're going to start charging for Fast Pass with Genie Plus and Lightning Lane. So basically, if you actually want to be able to ride as many rides as possible, or the rides, you paid to get into the park to ride, guess what, you're going to have to pay extra. Sorry about it, not our problem, even though it literally is their problem. And you know what's supremely sad about this? Is that I've harped a lot about Hollywood Studios in this video, and because that park just got 2 brand new lands, Disney probably has no interest in spending any money at that park in the near future at all, even though it's the park that is in the worst situation right now and is the absolute most miserable to experience at the moment because the lines are out of this world. But Disney doesn't care because they are literally profiting off of their own failure. Because they cannot build a park that has enough capacity to handle the guests coming in, they could profit off of people paying to skip the lines, paying to not have to deal with them. What a joke. But Disney, I hate to break it to you, with Universal breathing down your neck, you can't afford to be doing this. This is not sustainable. Maybe 10, 15 years ago when you had no real competition, but now that Universal is here and they're here to stay, you can't be doing these anti-consumer, greedy maneuvers. You just can't. You can't get away with it now, because there is competition that your guest will go to. So Disney, please, as someone who's a fan of competition, who's a fan of theme parks, can you please wake up? Thanks. Bye.